WrestleMania 2023, Night 1. This is the Wrestling Inc. podcast. I am Glenn Rubenstein, joined by Mr. Jimmy Korderas and Justin LaBar. The three of us together, I think for the first time in a long time. It's so nice to see you both.
Maybe the first time ever. There might be an unprecedented triple threat here.
Yeah, we might have not done this configuration, but hey, it is WrestleMania Saturday, and the WWE Universe high off just an amazing first night of WrestleMania, an amazing day. I know not everyone watched Stand and Deliver today, the NXT premium live event, but I have to say, like, I don't think I watched a single lackluster wrestling match that was announced ahead of time. We'll give a little bit of a pass to Pat McAfee and The Miz, but every match that was planned for today, every match that was officially on the card today, absolutely delivered, and I am riding high. So good to see you both.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. I didn't get to see Stand and Deliver yet, but everything I've read and heard, it did deliver to the NXT fans who tuned in for it. And then, as we'll get ready to dive in here, late night for Jimmy and I on the East. I mean, it was just, you could say about tonight, if tonight was done and say, okay, WrestleMania 39 is done, they make an argument, pretty damn good Mania, but they have a whole other night.
But it's funny because it's almost like I was telling Justin this just before we connected with you, Glenn. It was almost like everyone from night one turned to everyone that's working night two and said, follow that.
Yeah. No, that was what this morning was like. That was like what tonight was like. I am riding high. I mean, I tweeted this out on this very podcast back in late 2016 or early 17. Raj Giri swore to me that Sami Zayn would never, ever, 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 ever main event a WrestleMania. And tonight, he and Kevin Owens closed the show in spectacular fashion, defeating the Usos, fracturing the Bloodline even further, and becoming the new WWE Undisputed Tag Team Champions.
And by the way, the first ever time the tag team titles main event WrestleMania, so you're part of even more history.
Exactly. And there was other history on the night too. We'll get to that, of course, as we move along.
Yeah, almost everything over-delivered what we were expecting tonight. And I want to dive into the results. Really, with Stand and Deliver, just quick note, some big surprises today. Gallus retained the tag team championships in NXT. Indy Hartwell is your new NXT Women's Champion, someone that I think was predicted to almost exclusively not win that match. Became the new NXT Women's Champion today. We have new NXT Women's Tag Team Champions. It was a great card. We have a new NXT Champion with Carmelo Hayes. But I want to get in and talk about WrestleMania. We open tonight in Hollywood. Well, Inglewood, but it's close enough.
Yeah.
With Kevin Hart kicking off the show, and big feel match with Austin Theory defending his United States Championship against John Cena. Justin, what did you think of this opening to WrestleMania Saturday?
It was exactly what it needed to be. Theory comes out. He's got the heat. Then the tying in the Make-A-Wish with Cena, a nice little babyface touch there. It's almost like, you never quite know, especially Mania crowds, because you get such international flavor. You get such a vast, array of fans. So you never know what that fan base might do. So, last thing you want in this particular situation, when Austin Theory is one of your thriving top heels, you don't want a stadium full of the "Let's go Cena, Cena sucks." You really hope that John's kind of graduated past that at this point. He's basically retired. He'll make a match a year. So, obviously, the wholesome reason, great to show off the Make-A-Wish kids and having them there and everything. But it's also, maybe cerebral, a little touch of like, just remember, this is our superhero good guy. Don't, but in all seriousness, though, the match wasn't too long, didn't need to be. And, I got in some Twitter confrontation with people earlier, debate. They think that, Austin should have just outright won clean, not had the shenanigans with the ref up. And I completely disagree. It's like, it's called heat. Now he still has his heat. Heat is what fuels a heel. And if you want to go back to history, when Cena's first WrestleMania, which was to win the U.S. title, he used brass knuckles. And I don't think any of us here 20 years later are sitting around going, if he only would have won that first Mania match clean, the guy could have been something. So I think I think this was the right way to do it. And if Austin Theory, he has arrived.
Jimmy?
No, I enjoyed the match very much. I thought it delivered, and it did what it was supposed to do. It got heat on the guy that was supposed to get heat, and it also, at this point, you can't damage John Cena, regardless of whether he's beat clean or whatever everybody's screaming about. But we have a heel who outsmarted him in a situation with the ref bump, which was cool because it happened early. It made it feel like, we always talk about how the opening match should feel like a big time match, and that helped make it feel like a big time match. But at the same time, it elevated somebody.
Yeah.
And to Justin's point about the dueling chants, let's go Cena sucks chance. I think that was done not to be malicious, but I think it was done as kind of like a throwback situation to make them feel like times they are not a changing. We still, it was almost like an appreciation kind of thing as opposed to derogatory, if that makes any kind of sense. But to me, it felt like it was like, okay, we're just going to welcome them back like we did before.
Yeah, it's almost kind of part of the fanfare and tongue in cheek, and I think Cena has certainly embraced it over the years. Similar to Kurt Angle, right? I mean, you know that if this is how an audience responds to you, at a certain point, it's done with love. And I don't think anyone legitimately dislikes John Cena at this stage in his career. Right. He has a certain gravitas, and he's in the stratosphere of established WWE superstars. Him coming back, I mean, great to do that, to put Austin Theory over today. Mm-hmm. And I think this was a hot way to start the show. Love that Make-A-Wish moment with Cena and the kids.
Yeah, and also just with the Make-A-Wish again, we had so many stars tonight. I mean, God, this Mania, and again, this is only night one. But between Snoop, Colin Cowherd to sit in front row, Bad Bunny, George Kittle, but there's so many people. So again, you had the people there reminding you of how big of a deal WWE is in entertainment. But then that Make-A-Wish is a nice thing, because if you watch, you see some archive video of guys going back to the 90s and them touting WWE is Make-A-Wish's longest affiliated partner. So it's just again, if you're hoping you have first time eyes tuning into this, or very casual eyes and nothing else, in addition to all your diehards, and so to tout something like that right off the top, it just again legitimizes who and what WWE is. It is not grandpa's wrestling company no more.
I mean, elephant in the room today also felt like a very well orchestrated presentation for potential buyers of WWE.
Absolutely. Yep.
Absolutely.
Couldn't agree more. Them watching it and seeing the fanfare and seeing these stars come out. Like even you talked about earlier, Glenn, about NXT, sitting front row right behind the announcer. There's Daniel Cormier. Mm-hmm. So there's, like from the fight world and stuff like that. It's just, from a business standpoint, this was a great seller tonight. Let's put it to that.
I would love to see the reaction of some of the random suits watching from a private box during Rhea and Charlotte, going, wait a second, they legitimately try and kill each other sometimes? And it's like behind the scenes, Triple H is telling someone, distract them during this match. We need to come up with a way to get it to where we're not paying as close attention, because everything else felt very much like a showcase, not of the family-friendly nature of WWE, but that was the one part where it definitely got heated. It stood out. It was a very unique match in terms of tone. And I think, as such, people can argue this is the great thing about a great WrestleMania or any great pay-per-view or premium live event. Mm-hmm. You could have a heated debate about what match stole the show tonight or what the match of the night was tonight. And I think, I think you'd be valid to say almost any of them.
Yeah, you'd have a great argument for any match.
Yeah, except the Miz versus Pat McAfee.
Well, that... There's always exceptions to every rule, right?
I'd like to meet that person. That was like, and Snoop Dogg was there, and we got a 49er involved. Hey, we have some super chats, and please keep them coming tonight. We're gonna try and feature everything that we get. Andrew Ung with $4.99 saying, I was there live. WWE production team needs to step it up for night 2. The Jumbotron stopped working during Seth versus Logan, and the fans weren't happy.
Unfortunately, stuff happens even here with us sometimes. It's the technological world, and unfortunately, it's not 100% foolproof. You do your best to make your show run as smooth as possible, but every once in a while, glitches happen.
And Andrew, if I may, and I know that since you were there live, it's more important to you, but from home, and Andrew, you obviously didn't see all this. all the different things and effects they added to certain entrances, like Trish and Becky and Lita, and all the different things. And they had some great camera shots. They took a great replay of Sammy at the very end, which we'll talk to later. They hit their mark in so many ways, to where if there's going to be one little hiccup in technology, sometimes things just freeze. Like we all of us have had internet problems. If there's going to be a hiccup, it's better there be a hiccup that lasts just for a few moments, and that is only subject to 80,000 people versus the millions at home.
Right. Millions and millions,
right,
watching at home on Peacock. Or are they still on legitimate pay-per-view on cable systems?
Internationally, they are.
Yeah, because up here in Canada, it's still the WWE network.
Oh, that's right. God, I missed that. No, I have to say, and Justin, you've been to Manias. Jimmy, I mean, you've worked in the industry for such a long time. I think that with premium live events of this scale, if you are not in the first, 500 feet or 1,000 feet of that ring, you are there for the atmosphere and the experience. And yes, you'll be watching it on the big screens. So it sucks when those go out. But yeah, they're first and foremost doing this for the people at home.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been to, it was like a decade straight worth of Manias, and I haven't been to one since 2019. So I have been home for the last couple of years, and I was home, obviously I was home tonight. But you're right. There's certain things you do miss live. Even if you are front row, there's some things you just miss live because of the nature of, you can only see, as big as this has become to scale, your eyes can only turn so fast. Your head's on and so at home, it really is a nice way to take certain things in. And it's I can certainly do this podcast a lot better than if I was there live, because I can see, and like, I'll be honest, and we'll get to it in a second, I would have known who the hell was in the, I wouldn't have known who was in the prime mascot situation.
Right.
I guess that means that's a sign that I'm getting older. I had to sit there, and thankfully Michael Cole told me, and then I did some Googling, and it all pieced together. But if I was there live, I would have been like, who is that? That's not our truth. Who is who is the guy? I don't know who it is.
It's tough. It's tough.
Mania, it's not a wrestler. Okay.
Mania in Dallas, I just finally had the network on my phone, and I was watching it on my phone from the cheap seats because I see more.
See, it's funny because, going from being in that world and being actually in the ring at WrestleMania to watching it from press row, man, what a difference it is. It's a complete difference watching it, that way.
No, absolutely. And I mean, the same is true for any major concert live event. I mean, you go see Taylor Swift, if you're in the back, like, you're just watching the screens. Majestic Marie with a $5 super chat saying, I can't believe I'm saying this, but WrestleMania may be on its way to surpassing WrestleMania 17. Great night one.
That is high praise, Marie. I was at 17. That was my first Mania. Obviously, Jimmy worked it. Busy refereeing hardcore matches. I still hold 17. I was at 17. I was also at 30. And to me, those are two of the top. I'm not going to say WrestleMania 39 is up there yet. Let's see what they give us. We still have a lot of big stories and angles tomorrow. But I'll say this. Tonight might have been the best start to finish in-ring action.
No, I would agree, and like you said, as being part of 17 and getting to look back on it too, and I've watched it back a few times. Obviously, it was a lot of people's choice for best WrestleMania overall of all time. And tonight, if they continue tomorrow, they've got a legitimate shot of maybe putting that tag on this year's WrestleMania, although it is 2 nights.
Let me wax rhapsodic and be a little bit of a prisoner of the moment. I think tonight was the culmination of WWE being able to present the traditional WWE style of wrestling and storytelling mixed with the best of the indie wrestling revolution that has happened in the last 20 years. They have finally found the perfect way to blend those together. And tonight, I mean, very few notes about how it could have been improved.
Yeah, that's a very good point, because I've made this point in the past, and Justin, you probably remember this because I've said it I don't know how many times. The old school still works because the wheel from its inception has been round, but the challenge is incorporating the evolution of the business into old school meeting new school. And like you said, Glenn, it looked like tonight they're finding that blend. It is mixing well.
Yeah, I agree completely. I mean, look, we had 2 guys in the main event who had PWG logos.
Yeah.
One of the most prominent independent companies logos on their pants. So obviously, just the flair of the indie is there. But we had celebrities, we had pageantry, we had, and this is a great touch too, we had cutaways to around the globe of people in different countries reacting. I mean, so what could make that? I mean, that is as far away from indie as you get, because indie kind of comes with the connotation of lower budget and underground and what had, and still try to fighting to break through, so to speak. When you're showing people in Australia and it's technically Sunday there, and the fandom, that you can't feel any more global than that.
It was very, very good. I know week in and week out sometimes, TV results vary in terms of the quality of storytelling, but tonight, man, they put on a good face for the WWE universe, and perhaps more importantly, people that are going to be making bids in the coming weeks to shore up an acquisition deal. So quickly want to thank the Slayer 94 for the 99-cent super sticker. Tox Kazim Buck 99 saying, I cried hearing Viva La Raza. That was fantastic tonight. Marcus Harazin 499 saying, I didn't think that win did much for Theory. The crowd will probably eat him alive on Monday night, just like Cena said. Theory does a very good job of maintaining character and not letting crowd reaction or the lack thereof phase him.
Well, Marcus, let me ask you this. When Theory comes out to that LA crowd Monday night, what do you mean by eat him up? If the entire crowd is rabid and chanting "you suck" or "F you" or whatever, what more could you want as a heel? The worst thing would be if Theory comes out there and he starts touting how he beat John Cena, he beats and does all this thing, and everybody just sits on their hands.
Yeah,
like, so I don't know. I don't know what you mean by like they're gonna eat him alive. Like,
hopefully they do.
Yeah, like what do you eat him alive would be if 15,000 people in the crypto.com arena decide to band together and all purposely go quiet or all purposely stand up and go to the concessions at the same time. That would be eat him alive. That would be the ultimate fail the first time you're on TV after beating John Cena, but they're not. He's going to get some of the he is going to get some of the best heat right there, probably with Dominic Mysterio. So what do you mean eat him alive? That's the problem I have, is when people, we've completely gotten away and try to outsmart ourselves of what heel and heat reaction should be. Don't give me this go away heat. They don't actually like him. They want him to just no. If you don't like him, you don't even react and talk about him. You're on your phone. They're reacting because that's part of their enjoyment.
Right.
Yeah, indifference is the worst thing in professional wrestling.
Yes.
Right. You don't want people that just really don't care. So apparently my camera connection is having an issue. I'm just going to pop off for a second and switch internet providers here. But let me set this up for you two to discuss while I'm gone. The second match was the Viking Raiders versus Braun Strowman and Ricochet versus the Street Profits versus Alpha Academy. And this is for the number one contendership for the tag team titles. Jimmy, to you first this time, what you thought of this match, and I'll be right back.
Yeah, you know what? I enjoyed the match. It's funny because going into the match, I hate to put it this way, but my expectations weren't high because fatal four-way tag team matches could turn into cluster you-know-whats. But I thought they did a good job of making it break down at the right times. It wasn't like a total crazy, let's go nuts the whole time. There were times where they took their time, they told stories, and then there was chaos, and there was a pure 8 brawl at one point. Everybody's selling outside the ring. Everybody's in the ring doing a face-off. And while they were doing the face-off in the ring, they were getting a crowd reaction. And that's what you want. You want the crowd to react and them react. I'm not saying it was Hogan Rock, but it was a reaction from the audience by doing a four-way team face-off. So I enjoyed the match. It was fun. I'll be honest with you, I didn't expect the Profits to win, but
me neither.
Man, Montez Ford is a special athlete, and Angelo Dawkins has proven that he belongs to.
Yeah, this match is in the most unpopular position on the card. You're put as number 2, and that's just not a favorable spot, So I thought you're put in the number 2 spot. They're given whatever time they were given, bell to bell. Maybe 10 minutes it was, bell to bell actually after the entrances. And so it's like you got, like you say, you got 8 people. You could do you can do a lot more than 10 minutes with the athleticism and characters that are in this match. But I felt like they said obviously they have to respect the time they have, and I felt that they gave the best. They got to it. They got to the high spots. They got to whatever. I still had the kids in the room for this one, and they were in awe of watching, Ricochet do some of his stuff. My wife, I was like, watch this core showing off of core strength when Chad Gable, does the schoolboy roll through, then transitions into the German to Braun. I mean, so I thought, again, it's in the most unpopular spot, second match on this show that's stacked. But it lived up. It did not disappoint. It was not a go to the bathroom match. It like Glenn kind of said earlier, you could kind of make a case for every one of these matches having some claim to, yeah, but that match was the one you needed to see. And this match, for no title on the line, just future booking basically. I thought they delivered as best they could, again, given the time they were given.
I mean, it didn't let up this match at all. I think that there were a lot of great spots. Street Profits are superstars. I mean, and them getting the win, I think, makes a lot of sense. Them versus KO and Sammy is going to be phenomenal going forward. And who knows? I mean, perhaps they could win those titles. I don't want to get too far ahead with where things are, but I thought Chad Gable got to get his stuff in. The Viking Raiders are a tough act to run in the broad light of day. As someone described, Henry Rollins once described playing a daytime festival in Germany, and Marilyn Manson had to play during the day, and it looks like a bunch of goths having a cookout, having a barbecue. So the Viking Raiders are benefited by presentation, but I thought their in-ring performance was great tonight. Every team looked good. Braun and Ricochet, I'm curious to see what their future are. I don't feel like WWE has a lot of creative for them outside of this pairing, and I think they're starting to gel together. I'm actually kind of surprised they didn't win this, but I think they're still huge. I think they're still very high on the Street Profits.
I mean, Jimmy and I were both, as we said, both surprised the Street Profits won this. In terms of who I thought was going to win this, I actually was kind of at a three-way toss-up. I thought probably anybody but the Profits. I just felt like I don't see them necessarily being the ones that need it. And especially, again, the Profits being baby faces. And my prediction and thought was that the baby faces tonight would win the tag team title. So it's like, all right, well, but I'm fine that the Profits won. I wonder though, are they going truly to go chase now the tag team titles again, or are we looking to split them at all, or are we all just counting down for a split for no reason, or are they going to be like the New Day? Are they going to be like an eternal best friends, even if they're on separate brands? I don't know.
Right.
I respect and admire that WWE in both NXT today and the show tonight did some things that were not obvious. There were some obvious wins. But yeah, I think they're trying to find ways to change this up, make it interesting. And I think that we could find that maybe the Street Profits lose in their quest and then split up and have their singles runs. Maybe KO and Sammy do a turn. Although after that audience reaction tonight, I don't see that happening anytime soon.
Right.
But yeah, I like that it's unpredictable.
I do too. And by the way, your camera looks much better.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see a couple more super chats. The Slayer 94, $5 saying, "Love, stand and deliver. Never lost faith in Mello. He don't miss. Night one was lit as F. Was glued to the screen for Ray and Dom and the Usos and KO and Sammy." Man, those matches. Ray and Dom could have main evented tonight. Charlotte and Rhea could have main evented tonight. Like the crowd reactions to those. Tomorrow's going to be tough to top. I almost don't want to jinx it too much. But John Jordan, $5 saying, John Jordan, $5. Wow, some AEW shade saying, next person to tap Tony Francis, Buxton Khan as Booker of the Year gets snoozled with a noodle. The payoffs and emotions today. NXT and Night One, outstanding. I mean, competition's good, right? That's when wrestling's at its best.
Yeah, we like you said, you don't want anybody to not succeed in this business. We want them all to succeed. It just doesn't have to be a competition. Just do your best and entertain your audience.
But were the This Is Awesome chants today justified? That's what I want to know.
For the most part, but at the same time, a fight forever. It's sometimes it feels a little.
Yeah, if everything is awesome, nothing is awesome.
Right.
The Slayer 94, $5 saying, Snoop and Ray wanted to show that Cali love with the lowrider entrance bumping the ain't nothing but a G thing. Yeah, we'll talk about that. That Ray entrance, layer upon layers, just kept building. Tyrone Dawkins, $5, saying, I thought Chad Gable peaked at Reddy, Willing, and Gable. He is great. Long way from... We're just going to pretend Shorty G never happened. That was a valley in the career of Chad Gable.
I have my prediction, and we'll see what happens on Monday. We'll see what happens on Friday for SmackDown. I think Chad Gable in 2023, I think we could be looking at Chad Gable. I'm not going to say world champion, but I think Chad Gable is going to take a serious run at out of the U.S. Intercontinental title.
I hope so, because I've compared him in the past and continue to someone like a Kurt Angle. He just has that feel to him.
He is if Kurt Angle and the late Owen Hart had a love child. It's Chad Gable.
Ah, nice.
No, yeah. Let's see.
Somebody asked something. Yeah, there it is.
Oh, Mark Bays, $5, saying, Jimmy, I know that spot with Chad Gable and Braun made you proud.
Please specify.
Wasn't that? Didn't he hit Braun with the fireman's carry and slammed him at one point?
Okay. Yeah.
Well, he did the schoolboy roll, the one that I mentioned, the roll through, and then the German. He did that.
Right.
Yeah, that was what it was.
No, definitely. Chad Gable impresses me. That it wasn't just with what he did with Braun. Chad Gable is, like I said, the underrated superstar of the year. Let's put it that way.
Wow. No, I mean, he's great. I mean, back since American Alpha, like that kid's got it. I just think they don't always know how to present him as a singles act.
Right.
And then Shabowski, Canadian 550, saying, great show. The mics were too sensitive tonight. You could hear way too many wrestlers talking to each other and the refs. I hope it's sorted out tomorrow.
I mean, I caught a few. I mean, and really, if you actually pay attention and have your volume up, you can. I mean, I think it's a show like Mania. Again, you're in a stadium. I think they just have. Again, you need to have things mic'd to pick up the most important thing, which is the crowd reaction. So you're gonna get some. I mean, I guess if it takes you out of it, it takes you out of it. I don't know, but I mean, if you.
Yeah, it's a different atmosphere because, like with the crowd, you're in a stadium. The crowd the sound tends to rise from the crowd, as opposed to you don't hear them on television as much. So the mics may pick up a little bit more than normal in an outdoor stadium or a dome stadium, whatever the case may be.
Yeah. It was good tonight, and I think, have you noticed I think what they're doing with the mics is I think they're trying more and more to get that in-ring trash talk between them, but then the side effect of that is that sometimes you hear them calling spots.
Right.
Yeah, no, I think it's fair. Yeah, that's definitely fair.
The Slayer 94, $2, saying love Charlotte versus Rhea, good but predictable. Yeah. But they got there, I think, in a way that I wasn't quite anticipating. But let's talk about Seth Rollins versus Logan Paul.
Yes.
Logan Paul, the man you just love to hate to love, hate to admit that he is so damn good at this. Like, remarkably, shockably better than probably 90% of the wrestlers working today, good at this, doing the zipline entrance into the ring. Seth Rollins having a conductor coming out there, conducting the crowd to sing along to his theme. Justin, what did you think of this match? And we had a cameo from Logan Paul's business partner today from KSI, who was there in the Prime Hydration mascot costume and ended up eating that table spot.
Well, I've now Googled and become a KSI expert in biography.
Okay.
but no, I mean, somebody had to be in the suit, so I'm glad we got some payoff there. No, look, my takeaways here. This was exactly what I thought it would be. I like the video package and the story going into this. It it was very appropriate that Andy Kaufman goes into the Hall of Fame the night before, and it just Logan Paul representing that Hollywood, even though he's not necessarily Hollywood, winning Oscars, but he's still today, and by today's standards, Hollywood in terms of all of his YouTube accolades and everything else. I thought, and he's coming in, he's kind of being he's kind of got that Kaufman kind of feel to it. So I thought it was a really kind of fun, appropriate situation. Both men obviously athletic as all hell. Logan Paul throws a great working punch. They really sell him on this titanium and the hand, but he throws a really good work. It looks good, and without legitimately killing Seth. Good working punch. I was surprised that Logan kicked out of the pedigree. Seth has won many matches using the pedigree that he's adopted from his days of being the corporate champ for Triple H. But overall, this was just, I think it was exactly what it needed to be. I haven't looked at Logan Paul's social. I'm sure the clips taken with the phone and the spot to the outside, I'm sure, is getting a lot of play. And just once again, we're talking about, trying to bring outside eyes in. And they touted Logan Paul's got over 1 billion views on his YouTube. He's got he's got like 20 something million on Instagram followers. And again, if you have people lined up in the suite that you're trying to wine and dine, razzle dazzle of why this might be a property worth investing billions in, and the return you're going to get. Logan Paul is an important part of this presentation of here's the power we have. Here's the power of who we can get to come and not only come from that world and be part of our product, but doesn't embarrass us. That looks like he belongs. Quite frankly, looks like he belongs more than some people I see that are wrestlers that on TV that have been full time doing this for several years. So Logan Paul's got the entertainment down.
Jimmy, what do you think, especially as far as how he compares to other quote unquote celebrities who have participated in WWE matches?
As far as what he does in ring, he far surpasses any other celebrities that have taken part in this. Yeah, I mean, like, he totally gets it. He understands. For one, he's a phenomenal athlete and can do pretty much anything in the ring. And I could understand him getting heat with the audience, but I could understand him getting heat with other talent because he is better than he deserves to be. And it just feels like it comes so easy to him. I don't know how much he's trained for this, but at the same time, he is just better than we deserve to see, for lack of a better term. I don't know if that came out right the way I said it, but he's just phenomenal, and he gets it. He understands timing, and I know a lot of that had to do with being in the ring with someone like a Seth who could slow him down and tell him to, hey, take your time, sell, make sure you do this. Like the spot where Seth worked on his hand, injured his hand that he uses for that knockout punch. And then when he threw that punch, he took his time selling it. It was part of the story. He didn't go to the pin right away. So Seth kicks out. He did kick out of the finish, but after a little bit of selling and taking some time before he can go over and cover for the pin, he's better than he's better than a lot of guys. And like I said, gets it.
And one more note on the timing. I agree. I completely agree, Jimmy. One more note on the timing with Paul, and this might seem so like, but I think it matters. So like the big turning point, the big like turning point spot is having Seth on the announce table, the KSI's, taking a selfie or whatever, and Logan's getting ready to jump. Well, the timing. Again, the spot of Seth then getting up and getting KSI in place, and then Logan jumps. The timing's important because Logan can't wait too long, because then it's like, well, why the hell did you jump if you had a full 2 seconds to see that wasn't your person you're aiming for? But if he spits his drink in the air like he did doing his best Triple H impression and jumps too early, he might risk jumping being midair, and Seth's trying to make the transition, and either he bombs out and misses, or he seriously hurts one of the two because they're in a compromising position changing.
Right.
Go back and watch it. Like, he timed it perfectly to where it was flawless, to where he hit KSI clean, but he also it still made sense that he jumped, because like it
didn't look too early.
Exactly. I mean, that's something we all probably just take for granted, and you just whatever. But if you really think of put yourself in the position of doing it and think about the intricacies, that could go wrong very easily.
I mean, I just want to say, imagine if Drew Carey had his own wrestling ring and put this much time, effort, and energy to prepping for a match.
Yeah, just imagine, huh? I mean, look, I think back to obviously there's been a lot of celebrities dating back to Mania 1, obviously.
Yeah, Mr. T.
I think back to prior to this current era, and this current era, I mean, it's like the last, like, let's say 10 years. Prior to that, I always thought Lawrence Taylor did probably the best. Lawrence Taylor went out in the last match of a main event of WrestleMania 11, and he worked. I mean, the match with Bam Bam was like 20 minutes. I mean, he worked a match. He sold. So I always thought, for somebody coming from a non-wrestling world, Lawrence Taylor did the best complete performance. But I mean, I think now you go in this current era, they've got a lot, Bad Bunny worked a hell of a match. Pat McAfee's come in and been a hell of an athlete. But yeah, Logan Paul, you argue, might be the best of all of them.
That spot, and I know it got overshadowed by everything that happened, when he did the box jump to the top rope and the backflip. I mean, you know what? I'm going to say that 99% of the roster can't do that move.
Again, just proving what kind of an athlete he is. He's a complete athlete in the ring, and it comes off that way. And what's scary is it all seems to come so naturally to him.
I know. It's really nuts. And this was a great match. I think it's good that Seth won. Seth knew that when supposedly Logan might be at the end of his current deal, but who knows? I think this is good for his brand too. I think this only further legitimizes him in the world of mainstream entertainment.
Again, and the main thing is he had heel heat with the crowd, and him and Seth had that crowd on their feet, buying into everything they were doing, and that finish went over huge.
Yeah. It was so good. I mean, this match was phenomenal. This is where it was just like, man, this show, like, when is this going to let up? And we went, and by the way, Logan Paul hit the GTS today, which they called the GTS. So
if he would have beat him with it.
Well, Damage Control versus Lita, Trish Stratus, and Bailey. And Becky. Damage Control versus Trish, Lita, and Becky Lynch. Becky, Trish, and Lita got an amazingly well-produced entrance for this match tonight. This match was special for many reasons, which I just want to touch upon before we critique it. I mean, if you talk about the 3 generations of women's wrestling talent in the ring tonight, all the different countries, I think it was 5 countries represented tonight in this match. It was really remarkable to see this come together and the crowd reaction. Jimmy, what did you think of this, and especially seeing Trish and Lita back in the ring?
I thought they performed so well, considering the fact that you get your reps in. Yes, you can go to a gym and into the ring and you can work out and try to get your timing back that way. But the best way to do it is to actually have matches on the road. So I thought their performance tonight, the ladies performed very well. Again, telling stories in the ring, letting the match tell a story, and getting people invested in what they were doing. Hats off to Trish, not only because she's Canadian and a fellow Torontonian, and a fellow Greek descent, Greek DNA as well. But, for someone who hasn't done this for I don't know how many years now, she hasn't been in the ring doing on a regular basis. She performed very well. Lita's been doing a great job. Obviously, the other women have been at least performing for a little bit, but the story, I was invested, and it was entertaining, and that was the thing. And again, here's another match where the crowd started off not maybe as hot as they should be. The entrances, obviously, they were hot for. When the match started, they were a little quiet, but they got the crowd in, and they got them invested. And again, they were into this match and into the finish.
Jimmy, I know you're both Toronto and I know you're both Greek, but I've never looked at you the way I looked at Trish Stratus. Just want to go on record and say such.
No, I don't take offense.
There's something about Lita, seeing her in the ring. I just remember tuning into Monday Night Raw once in the late 90s and seeing her and just immediately being like, who is this woman? She is incredible. Her look, the way that she comes across on screen, the way that she carries herself in the ring. And I still see that in her and love watching her wrestle. But Justin, what did you think of this match tonight?
Yeah, look, I'm going to be honest. I thought the match was good. I thought actually it exceeded the overall entertainment of it. It actually exceeded my expectations. And that's also taking into account what it's going up against. This entire card was stacked, and so this match, I'm not going to see a case of it being match of the night. This is one of the ones I wouldn't have an argument for. But that's not a knock, because the praise for this show for tonight's at least is so high. I thought the crowd did get into it as time went on, as Jimmy said. I was very happy. I had a moment watching on TV, watching Lita and Trish get the boldly produced entrance that they got, and they're walking down the ramp. When they were in their prime and their peak, Mania was obviously the biggest show of the year, but it had not yet gotten to what Mania has become in the last like 10 to 15 years.
Mhm.
You know, Mania now it's stadium or nothing. You know, Trish had a really big Mania match against Mickie James, and that was in the Garden, and obviously the Garden's Garden or Staples Center. Well, either way, both very prominent arenas, but still arenas. Like now we are 70,000, 80,000, whatever. So, and it's so much more boldly produced, everything. So I had a moment of watching them come down the aisle, and I was like really happy that they are in this big featured match and getting this treatment. I just felt like, and it's not like we're doing it as a favor and they don't belong. They still look tremendous. They still went out there and performed, and for being, again, not to make age a thing, but they're both in their 40s. They both mothers, you know, like, but they went out there and they did it. And by the way, they don't do this regularly anymore. It's not like they're working, 4 matches a night or 4 matches a week. So overall, I thought this was really good. I thought Damage Control looked pretty good. I didn't think Damage Control was going to win, so my prediction there was correct. But I have to say, after watching how this all unfolded, I don't know what more Damage Control can do. I think this has to be the end of Damage Control.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I think you have to, whether you have an implosion split on TV in this upcoming week, whether you have them disappear from TV and let the mind forget about them, out of sight, out of mind, and I don't know, but I don't think you can put Damage Control out there in the next week or two to challenge any. I don't think you can put them out there to challenge anybody and it feel credible at all. I feel like we've kind of just reached our sell-by date with them.
Well, I think tomorrow we're going to have new #1 tag team contenders with Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey.
But Damage Control is not okay. If so,
yeah,
do you buy Damage Control trying to challenge them?
I could see a match. I think you need to do that match with Ronda and Shayna versus Damage Control. I think that would be a great main event on Raw, SmackDown, or hell, maybe even the next pay-per-view. Maybe do that. No, because I guess technically Ronda and Shayna will be the #1 contenders after winning that match tomorrow. But I think you need to do that match because, one, I think it's a great match that will draw eyeballs. But I think that losing that match could be a good jumping off point for Damage Control to implode.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, use them while you got them. You know,
I guess.
Apparently, Issa just got a question in on the WWE WrestleMania press conference, so I'll have to go and watch that later.
Yeah. Nice.
No, this was a really good match in the sense that, Justin, to your point, they played to each woman's strength in this match and what they were able to do and their capabilities. And I think they all looked good for the most part. I think Io got some great spots in this today. And with Becky and Trish and Lita winning, I mean, I think the crowd was very happy. So,
and I didn't even realize that the tidbit that you mentioned I didn't even think about the nationalities of having 5 different. Yeah. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was cool. Yeah. This was just a cool match. Scott Langford, Canadian, $5.50. That's like $4 American, saying this was the one match I guessed wrong. I thought Damage Control should have won because where do they go from here? Well, exactly. I think we might be in their final days, but who knows?
Exactly. That's what I was thinking too. That this could be the jumping off point for them to go their own separate ways. Maybe they can't coexist.
Anira saying that with so many faces winning, worried the heels get their due night 2 and Reigns retains. Cody was also interrupted before saying, "Finish the story on SmackDown."
I don't know. I don't see that happening for night 2 because, as I said yesterday to you, Glenn, that if this isn't the anointment of Cody as the next one, then they miss a huge opportunity here with him. And yes, you can make an argument, well, they can get that momentum back. I don't know how. It would be very difficult. And like, as Justin is shaking his head, not only will it be difficult, it'll be near impossible to get the reaction and the investment that the fans have gotten in him right now. Because going into this, people were making a case for Sammy, but at the same time, they moved Sammy in a different direction and they gravitated towards Cody. This is his time.
And let's see. Cornell Bryant, $4.99, saying Ricochet needs a singles push, or else I'm thinking they're going to Shelton Benjamin 2.0 him.
Or Wardlow him, as I like to call it.
Oh, there you go. and the Slayer 94 saying the wife is saying that Seth's starting to worry her with his clothing. I thought Seth looked great tonight. I mean, he's so over the top, but he has to be. You have to keep topping yourself. If your thing is outrageous fashion, you don't tone that down, you amp that up. You know?
Well, he definitely did that tonight.
His fashion was a choice, that's for sure.
Speaking of which, I have a pink tracksuit that showed up the other day because after the pink hoodie, now I have to keep upping it. And so now it's going to be a pink jogging suit.
Oh, you better document. I got to see you in a tracksuit.
I got a hat with it that's like this pink purple tie-dye like bucket hat, and my wife, I had to hide it because she wants to burn it. She hates it so much.
Wait, Glenn, you and I haven't done a podcast in over a year together. You're no longer in Cali. You're in Vegas now, right?
I'm in Vegas. That's right. Living that life.
So you can wear a pink tracksuit. You're fine. You'll blend right out.
Oh yeah, you can do whatever you want here. No rules.
You're just a flamingo. You're flamingo at that point.
Oh, absolutely. So we went from that match, man, and this show just sort of flew tonight. I think that's part of the reason why a lot of people were just kind of like, oh, this McAfee Miz thing. I get it, but I mean, this was feeling like the tightest night of WrestleMania ever. We were going to be at the 3.5 hour mark before they added that impromptu match. Well,
and I know we'll get to it, but there also is an art to pacing a show like this, and
yeah.
You almost have you got to put a little goo goo gaga filler in after what we get with the women's match, which I know we'll get to here in a little bit, and like like it's a good problem to have when emotions are so high that you need to like let people like catch their breath.
Yeah. Well, so we went from that women's 6-woman tag match to Rey Mysterio versus Dominic Mysterio. Dominic Mysterio had a police escort fresh out the pen, in cuffs. It's amazing how much they're leaning into this. The Mysterio on the fingers tattoos, close up tonight. The other cell people in the jail cells running the coffee cup along the bars. This entrance was a work of art and a thing of beauty. And then Ray's entrance with Snoop Dogg coming out to Nothing But a G Thing, having Eddie's music play, having 619. I mean, this was just this felt like a main event match. This could have been the main event tonight.
Absolutely. Not just from the entrances, but just from the story itself. This story has been phenomenal. And as we've said, and hate to sound like a broken record, Dom has just grown into this and has made this work. Yeah. Now, as far as the finish goes, they kind of caught me a little off guard because I thought this was going to go in a different direction. But at the same time, it makes sense.
Well, it's going to Puerto Rico, where I think it's going to be Bad Bunny and Rey Mysterio against Dominic and Damian Priest.
Well, let's not forget about the LWO who could be involved.
Yeah, that's right.
This match had so much pressure on it. From the moment that Dominic became a heel at Clash of the Castle, 8 months ago, I know because I do podcasts every week now with Jimmy. We'd said then, like, okay, this is all the long-term play to build to a Mania match with Dom and Ray. But this goes back before that.
Yeah,
Ray had, Dom trained with Booker T. He did a lot, whatever. He's Ray's his father. You're gonna get the best training possible. When Dom and Ray started, and it was during the pandemic empty arena time, so not the most favorable time to think about. But when they really started as a tag team, Ray, I think, from the best of my understanding, I think Ray could have retired. I think that was a possibility, and certainly he's done all that there is to do, and I'm sure financially is set, but he didn't. And I think a big part of it was he wanted to get Dom in the door. And then it was like, all right, well, if I'm going to get him in the door, okay, it'd be one thing to tag with him, but man, I could really make my kid here if I could work with him at Mania.
Yeah,
like, that was always the long-term goal. And then it became like, okay, we're committing to it. 8 months ago, when they say we're going to do heel Dom, we're going to put him with Judgment Day. So there's so much pressure that and you get to as you mentioned, you get to pull in and play Eddie. Eddie's music has not been played in a Mania since Eddie was alive and with us. Like, you get to play Eddie's music. We're getting Snoop Dogg to drive you out. We're like, there was just so much investment to where if they went out there and if this thing flopped, if it's a huge problem. But man, they came out and the layers of it from working the drink and Aaliyah in, and working Angie in, and then the Judgment Day is coming out, then LWO, like that. So much was accomplished out of this, and in the match was, I mean, God, the spot of Ray getting chucked into the bottom buckle. I mean, this hit it. This did it. Ray won. That's the right call. Dad gets the belt whipping.
He whooped his behind in the ring.
Everything hit the mark. But Dom is still better off. His stock is still going up. This was all the layers to this just was fantastic.
Right.
Yeah, Jimmy, what did you think of this?
No, I enjoyed it very much, and even though the finish caught me off guard, because I thought maybe Ray would make a case, wanting to put Dom over, because Ray is very unselfish in that regard and wanting to help, but he also knows that you could elevate someone without putting them over, which we talk about getting over without going over. And in this case, I think the story here superseded Dom going over with the show respect. You can't disrespect your parents and your family. That was the bottom line. You know what I mean? That's how it felt to me anyways. And then thinking back on it after the finish, I went, you know what? That does make sense. It kind of sends a message. Hey, be kind to your mom and dad.
I think that's what they were going for. Maybe this was Vince working out some issues, with his own children through this. I don't know.
Michael Cole was on commentary talking about Antonio Inoki submission holds. I don't think Vince was on the headset tonight.
Yeah.
No, probably not.
No, I said we would know Vince was secretly involved in creative if Ray pulled down Dominic's pants and gave him a bare ass spanking. That would have been the Vince move. Instead, we just got the belt spot.
Right.
It
would have been going over and getting one of Angie's slippers and using that. Anyways.
No, but look, I think this was phenomenal tonight. I love this match. I think the only thing this feud is missing is Vicky, and I think contractually when she can join in this, that would be a way to even take it up to another level. I think this still has gas in it, and I think Dominic should continue to amp it up from here, because he is legitimately one of the best heels working in wrestling right now. But it's really weird because he's not a Miz baby. He's not out there doing the Miz or MJF thing. It's unique, and it's funny because it isn't fully credit the jail thing and whatnot. It's legitimately funny, but he's doing it in a way that people are encouraging him to go further with it rather than mocking it, which is very rare. Normally people are very quick to make fun of you.
Well, and normally when you are a second or third generation talent, your hill to climb is even steeper. Just take a look at Cody Rhodes 15 years ago. Take a look at Ted DiBiase Jr. Take a look at Curtis Axel. Take a look at let me go through. When you try to play off the name and gimmick of your family prior, the hill is steeper.
Yeah.
This has been a rare case where he's using the family name of Mysterio. This is a rare case where it's helping him. People boo him easier because they know that's not an indie person who's being employed to act as his mother or act as his sister. They know that's his real sister and that's his real mother.
Wait, those weren't really Bobby Lashley's sisters?
No, right. So it is a rare case where it helps, because most of the time when you look at second, third generation stars, when they have nothing to do with the family name, that usually works better for them. Look at Bray Wyatt. Nobody's asking him to be, the IRS tax man of this, So to the fact that he is, they're owning he is a Mysterio, it's played in and helped him greatly, which is a rare situation.
Right.
Yeah. I'm excited to see where this is going to go with this feud from here. So Corey Pride, $2 super chat saying both Mysterio's entrances were fire tonight. Absolutely. Agree. Sheed Black saying Seth is just imitating Prince with his clothing. I think, Seth hasn't worn assless pants yet, has he? So, we're not at that. We're not like at the Prince get off stage of Seth's wardrobe. So we'll get there. We'll get there.
Just wait until they go to Money in the Bank in London in July. Ooh. Seth will be doing his best Freddie Mercury.
Absolutely.
I can't wait.
The Slayer $5 with the chat saying from the previous chat, I didn't care about Seth's gear, but on a present note, even though he lost, Dominic looked like $1 million.
Absolutely, I agree. He's just here's a guy who gets it, and he's a young talent who obviously is listening to the right people.
Yeah. And, this segues into Ray and Charlotte, and we talked about this last night, Jimmy, a little bit. I think it might have been a mistake to have him have those face-offs with Charlotte Flair, because that first one was so good. I don't feel that the storytelling on Ray and Charlotte ever really found its own groove beyond that initial super condescending chat that Dominic had with her.
Let me ask you, as we segue into this match, let me ask you two this question. Based upon Dom's heat, Finn and Damien are out there. They're getting heat too, and Finn's got his match tomorrow. We'll talk about that tomorrow. But then, as we're getting ready to talk about Rhea here in a second, and what she did and what the reaction was to her, are they running a risk of keeping Rhea still with the Judgment Day and with those other three? Like, or was the crowd so we can't take a 15th? We can't take another win from Charlotte. We just don't want Charlotte. Like, was it as we get into this next match, was the crowd more behind Rhea or were they more behind anti-Charlotte?
Interesting question. That's a tough one. I guess we're going to see, because I almost feel like there is a chance they may tease it going towards maybe tying her father as far as how many world championships they go. But there was another point that Justin and I were talking about. I'll let Justin bring it up, but maybe they aren't going that way.
Glenn, anything else you want to do about the match? We'll set it up and then we'll talk about the reaction.
Yeah, let me just hit a couple of these super chats quickly, and then I want to get into it, because I do think this match is very interesting and what the expectation was versus the payoff, and I want to discuss it all. But Jim Viviano, 499, saying, "What's worse, Justin's outfit or Ray not doing the job for Dom?"
No,
it's our year. It's coming. It's coming for the Washington Commanders football. It's coming.
Shabowski, 22 Canadian, saying, "I agree with Ray winning tonight because of the story, but I have to think this continues on until it's a retirement match or a mask for his mask with a Mysterio name, and then Ray loses and Dom takes the mantle." I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I kind of like that too. It didn't have to happen at Mania.
Oh, and Mark Bays, you called this last night, Jimmy, exactly, saying that we have to credit Mysterios for their kayfabe. Ray just went into Hall of Fame and Dominic's still in full character. Dominic did exactly what you said, Jimmy. He's got up and walked out. No attack.
Trust me, it's not like I knew anything or anything like that. I just thought that if they're going to further the angle, don't make it physical at the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
Make it as subtle as possible, something that won't overshadow the inductions, and having them just get up and walk out was more than enough.
Well, and aside from overshadow, you potentially forever taint the value you try to put on the Hall of Fame being this black tie event, and it already gets so much critique for not having an actual criteria, not having a physical location. How is that person? Whatever. So it already has an uphill battle to fight of like its legitimacy, right? And so if they would have ended the Hall of Fame with Dom attacking Ray at the podium, while all these other wrestlers are out there with their spouses in black, like come on, don't need to. So yeah, you're right. You don't want to go the complete other direction and have Dom sitting there next to his mother and sister clapping and then expecting people to like. So no, you can't do that. It was a great touch to have him, Rhea as his date, and they lean into that whole mommy poppy thing. But yeah, just get up and walk, and that's all it has to be.
And no fireworks, nothing really of note during the Andy Kaufman induction last night.
No.
Yeah. That's a whole other. We could do another.
Yeah, I know.
We were talking about that last night, and I was saying Glenn mentioned Tony Clifton. I said it would have been cool if Jim Carrey came out as Tony Clifton.
Yeah, something.
Well, or even I thought, I said this a few weeks ago. I thought, great, I guess, to see his family, yay.
Right.
But I thought, like, have Bob Zmuda come accept him. Yeah. Bob Zmuda was like his right hand man of creativity, and played Clifton.
Right.
Yeah, I know, it was shocking. But Bigfoot Sneakerhead Buck 99 saying, "I see Dominic as world champion one day." Hey, people wrote off The Miz. People have written off a lot of younger heels, but it could very well happen. It could be a good way to get further heat.
It's all in the story and how you get there.
It's all in the story. That's it. It's all in the story. Dom's next accomplishment and he might still have some more follow up with his dad, especially them going to Puerto Rico and playing into the playing into that. But the next big accomplishment is going to be, all right, once Ray is disappeared and Ray whatever, can Dom maintain heat with somebody with a baby face that has nothing to do with the family personal stuff?
That's the key.
Can it translate then?
Well, he certainly did with Charlotte in their promo. That was phenomenal. King Kia, though, with an interesting point, saying that Dominic's jail intro would have worked if Dom had been arrested at the Hall of Fame or escorted out or something like that. I don't know.
Too campy.
Yeah. Well, for WWE, Justin, you think there's like lines they won't cross?
There's a line. Too campy.
So Steve Marcuccioli, 499, says that Charlotte versus Rhea had a main event match, but not a main event story leading up to it. And Sammy versus KO and the Usos had both the main event story and match. I mean, I think that's obviously why they went last. But so I want to talk about this because it does seem like Charlotte and Rhea, they have the backstory with what happened with Rhea losing her NXT championship. People have wanted to see that rematch. Dominic cutting that condescending promo on Charlotte was phenomenal. Rhea and Charlotte, if as the Slayer asks, who was the face in this? Because Rhea being in Judgment Day kind of precluded that. So I think I want to couch this by saying I think the match tonight was amazing, and it was this was the most difficult spot on the card tonight because the audience didn't know about the Miz Pat McAfee thing. They thought this was going between Rhea and Dominic, and then there was this match, and then they thought we were going to get the main event. This was a very tough spot tonight. And I have to say this match was just phenomenal. One of the hardest hitting women's matches we've ever seen in WWE. There were scary spots that were intentional. Like they were the scariest version of the planned spots that happened. But yeah, I think the lack of knowing who's the heel, who's the face, was this pro Rhea, anti-Charlotte. I think that Rhea's got a lot of goodwill still. You know, they have not always done right by her. It was a mistake. And granted, I know the pandemic, but it was in play before that when she went into that Mania as NXT champion against Charlotte, and she was the badass anti-hero of NXT, but then they made her this, oh wow, baby face. I feel like her character pre-Judgment Day didn't really have a set track. She's in her groove, but people still have a lot of goodwill to her. People don't react to her like she's a villain. I mean, I think it's, again, one of those love to hate sort of things, similar to Dominic. Like, it probably with all of Judgment Day. Like, they're heels, but we're kind of on their side. I mean, it's kind of like the vampire thing. It's like vampires kill people and feast on their blood, but people still think vampires are cool. You know, like they get that crowd reaction where they're into it. But Jimmy, what did you think of this match with Charlotte and Rhea tonight?
I thought it was great. Another match that started off as a bit of a fight, and then a wrestling match, and then it grew and it built, and you can tell because the audience was just getting more and more and more and more invested as the match progressed. And I thought these women did a phenomenal job, not only with telling a story, but also with, you could tell when you got your audience, because everybody thinks they're so smart now that they can see the finish coming. They were biting on so many of those false finishes. Yeah. Where they were like, oh, you knew they thought that was it. These ladies did a phenomenal job. And you can make an argument that this may have been one of the best title matches on a WrestleMania in a very long time. And from a personal standpoint, as a former person in striped shirts, hats off to Jessica Carr, who did a wonderful job. This was the first match, and I know people are saying, "Oh, come on," but the first time a match where all three of the participants in the ring, including the official, was a woman and the announcer. Yeah, and the announcer, yes, as well. So awesome! Everyone did an awesome job here. This is one, if there's one match you want to tell people to go back and see, this is one of them.
Yeah, Justin.
Yeah, and I think it's important. All four. Both participants, referee, and announcer. Yes. Samantha Irvin, as the ring announcer, she is rising. She's quickly rising. And I just real quick, I want to give her flowers. I saw her recently at a SmackDown that I was at. I sat just behind her. Not only does she have you can hear it, the gravitas, as Glenn said earlier, it's a perfect word for this. If you actually watch her, the body language, the energy, it it is big time fight feel with her. So it was a really cool moment that we have. All the main players of this presentation being female. That's awesome. Hats off to all 4 of them. I'm going to say this. I tweeted it earlier, and I'm sticking with it. It's collected its likes and retweets. It's also collecting its people of hate to me. This match was one of the best world title matches in the 39 years of WrestleMania. Wow. Not one of the best women's world title matches, one of the best world title matches, meaning I am willing to put this up there to defend it against many of the men's. I'm not saying it's the best, but it automatically, however you top 5, top 10, whatever it is, this gets thrown in there as a nominee to, was it as good as Austin Rock at Mania 17? Was it as good, like Shawn and Brett at 12, like whatever. This gets to be in the conversation, period.
Yeah.
It's not going to beat every other match. Maybe the backstory is not as long or whatever. Maybe the finish was too whatever. But it gets to be in the conversation. And, I would be, I was, and going into this, I kept saying, I could see that night 1, if they have Rhea versus Charlotte main event, night 1, because they like to try to balance it out, have the men's world title.
Yes, they should.
But right, but I was advocating. I defended. I advocate. I said the tag match probably should main event night 1. That story has become so rich.
Yeah.
Put Rhea and Charlotte first on night 1. Well, they didn't go on first. They went on, semi-main, and they still killed it. And great to them. I'll say this, and this is what Jimmy was alluding to. I was talking to Jimmy before we went on the air. I'm so happy for Rhea. I love Rhea Ripley. Watching that match, how it was executed, laid out, how the finish went, then watching the facial expressions of how the talent are selling. Rhea's obviously celebrating. Charlotte's facials, as you watch everything, there's a little bit of a thought that I have of, was this Charlotte's last match?
Could be.
The way that she was sitting up against the ring apron with Rhea then towering over her celebrating, and Charlotte was not like, oh, damn it, I'm going to get her in a rematch. She had this, and then think about what she gave to Rhea. Give all the props to Charlotte for what she gave to Rhea. What Rhea kicked out from. All the figure 4 counters that Rhea had. You look back at this, and you look at everything, and, Charlotte's, I was looking again, she's going to be 37, I think, upcoming this Wednesday. 14-time champion, whatever. I mean, it kind of felt a little bit like maybe Charlotte just passed that torch on to the next top lady in the division, who, again, if we want to talk about age, is 26 years old right now. So perfect age to have a lot of road in front of her. It felt a little bit like maybe Charlotte just passed that torch.
I mean, she literally gave the skin off her nose tonight.
Yeah, she did. Yes, she did.
But no, I think she ties her dad. I think it makes sense to keep that record as a Flair thing. But I think she doesn't have to do this anymore. Maybe she doesn't want to do this anymore. I mean, look over the last few years, feels like she's taken some serious stretches of time off. And this match tonight, look, I think for the first 3 minutes, a lot of times I go off crowd reaction and energy. I think for the first couple minutes, the crowd didn't quite know what this match was going to be. A lot of people predict Rhea was going to win. You never know. And given the slot in the card, the fact we just had Dominic and Ray, the fact that we had Sammy and KO coming, this could have been quick. I mean, they've had some championship matches with some very surprise, upset, quick finishes. Charlotte's lost and won in quick finishes. I think that the crowd energy to me seemed a little off for the first 3 minutes. And then when it seemed clear they were trying to literally beat the life out of each other with these strong swings and these moves, these hard-hitting moves, they got very into it very quickly. And it became, I agree with you, Justin, one of the best championship matches ever at a WrestleMania. It was really, really good. And I didn't want it to end until my thought was, please let this end before one of them kills the other one, because some of these spots was trying to get scarier when you had Rhea landing on her head and when you had Charlotte taking that suplex on her face. Like it was just like, you know what? Let's just, and when Charlotte hit the ring, right before the finish there, I thought that was the perfect way to do it. This was very, very good, but at the same time, I think that, yeah, they took it as far as it should go, but I think it got everybody so emotionally invested, and it didn't become about who's the face or who's the heel. These are two women, and I've critiqued this a lot with men's matches. This was the problem with every Roman and Seth match. When you have two guys that are top stars, I always compare it as like Batman versus Superman, and both of them have to look strong in defeat. And if Batman and Superman are going to fight, it can't be a quick victory. You have to really see them go through the paces, and you'd end up with Seth and Roman would have these, half hour, 45-minute long matches. It seemed like they were never going to end. I think tonight was the perfect length, but I think this was like watching two superheroes fight one another. They were perfectly evenly matched on a physical level. Very tough, very strong. And I'm going to go back and rewatch this match. It was great, but I do think, Justin, to your point, I do think this was passing the torch for a while, but I don't see why Charlotte wouldn't want to tie that record before she retires.
Well, I mean, maybe she has some more one-offs and comes back, but I mean, but you talk about the record, like, she's at 14. Look, what's Rick's? Is Rick 16? Rick's 17.
17 now?
I think Rick's 17 because Cena's 16.
Yeah,
right. Because it's always been the thought of, would Cena come back and try to do one? That's so
Rick's 16. He's officially recognized as 16.
16. Yeah. So Cena would come back to beat.
Yeah,
so Cena would be. I don't know. I mean, who knows? I don't know. I mean, that's when we start really speculating into personal stuff that's not our business. I mean, she's going to be, like I said, 37 in a couple of days. Does she want to have kids? All this stuff. I don't know. But any which way, the crowd involvement, there was an investment to see Rhea Ripley win. Which again, I go back to. Is that just because they want to see Rhea Ripley do it, and then come Monday or come Friday, are they back to being able to boo? Are they back to when she's whispering in Dom's ear? Are we back to booing her? Is that whatever?
They're the power of WWE.
Right.
Love them.
Or did she just Hogan at 19 herself? Did she just? Are the fans saying we don't want to boo her? We let her be the same character, but we want to cheer her. I don't know.
Interesting.
I do think. It's interesting now that Ronda is moving in on to the tag titles. It's interesting that Becky is in the tag division. I do like that we are seeing a bit of a passing the torch, and it's not, I mean, take this in the context of every consistently great thing I say about NXT and WWE's women's division. They have a problem when the main championships are the same 5 talents. And if Charlotte is on the roster and Ronda is on the roster, it's a coin toss as if they're holding a championship belt. I think it's actually a very healthy thing if Charlotte, Ronda, Becky, Bayley, if they've moved on from having to be the main female champion, because we only have those 2 titles. I think it's very, very good it's been very good for Bianca, very good for Rhea, and I look forward to seeing them continue to elevate the next generation of women's talent. They have a very stacked roster, but the thing is they don't really know how to write consistently great storylines for women that don't involve a title of some sort. NXT does, but the main roster does not.
No, that's a very fair point, because you see it in the men's division. For so many years, you've seen superstars who were not champions in that top spot.
Yeah.
And that seems to be the one thing that's missing from the women's division. But you know what? Maybe this is a way to broach that now, so to speak. Like you were saying, maybe this is how they get there, and we'll see what happens going forward.
It's excited, but yeah, Charlotte actually looked really proud of Rhea in the match that she put on. I'm sure her facial expressions are going to be analyzed in the days to come.
And Charlotte should be proud.
Yeah.
Charlotte worked. I mean, you said by the skin of her nose. Charlotte worked her ass off. If Charlotte's retiring, or if Charlotte had any political strife against dropping the title, whatever, if there was any contention behind the scenes, if there was, she put it all aside and was professional as all hell and did everything to make Rhea look as good as possible.
They did business, and I hate to sound like Captain Cliche, but they left it all out there, and the ladies deserve all the praise they're getting tonight.
And Charlotte dominates a lot of her matches. I mean, I would compare this and probably put it up there with Becky versus Charlotte at Evolution.
I think probably beyond that. I bet you somewhere wherever Rick was tonight. You know he watches every one of Charlotte's major matches. I'm sure Rick
Had a tear in his eye.
Took a shot, had a tear in his eye, and did some strutting wherever he was,
and thought, "How can I get in on this?" No, he's a very proud father, very supportive. So after this, we had The Miz and Snoop Dogg out there. The Miz talked about an open challenge that he posted on many social networks, including
MySpace.
Gonna make a comeback.
Who's in Miz's top 8 friends?
Well, Maurice.
Jimmy never had a MySpace. He has no idea what we're saying.
No, I never did. To be honest with you, I never did have a MySpace. I knew what it was. I just never did it.
There you go. So out came Pat McAfee in his bedazzled tank top, his bedazzled WrestleMania tank top, looking great. And they had an impromptu match with The Miz. We had someone from the 49ers who I don't remember his name. Do you remember his name?
George Kittle.
What I say?
Big wrestling fan.
Yeah, I lived in the Bay Area for 30 years. After Joe Montana, stopped paying attention to the Niners. This was what it was. Pat McAfee's good, but Jimmy, any major thoughts on this one?
Nah, it was a nice little break to, as Justin mentioned, you went from that great match. You had to have that come down moment before you went into the main event, and that's what it was. And it was a fun little distraction, so to speak, from what was going on. But other than that, it was what it was. And
it's a fun distraction, but this match, it'll get a ton of play across ESPN and Fox Sports, because you have George Kittle, who's the best tight end in football. Right. You have Pat McAfee, who has become a media giant. He's become a media giant with his podcast and what he's able to get. He's a former NFL player, and it's the cool down for the audience before the main event, but yet it's going to be one of the things that gets some of the most mainstream play. So win-win.
Yes.
Yeah. And they do a lot of things like this.
And Snoop Dogg's out there. Let's not forget Snoop's out there.
True. And like Snoop was like, I rap. You all deal with this. I'm out of here.
Didn't he make the match official?
Yes.
He did.
But it was fun.
He has the power of Adam Pearce.
There you go.
Well, after this, we did have that main event with the Usos, with Little Uzi Vert bringing them out. Jimmy, are you a big fan of Little Uzi Vert?
Actually, a little bit on the question mark side when it comes to that one, because I'm not even familiar with his work.
Justin, how about you?
No, Jimmy loved the Cool in the Gang song they were using earlier than
Oh my goodness, the Cool in the Gang song.
I know Jimmy likes his Cool in the Gang.
Yeah, I do.
Thank God it wasn't What's His Face from the Royal Rumble. That was terrible. That was the worst musical performance in recent memory. Sorry,
but I have to specify too. Justin's not just saying that. That's legit. I'm a big Cool in the Gang fan.
No. Do not doubt it. It was fine. The Usos. Actually, it's funny. The entrances, the way they tried to play off KO and Sammy's entrance, were like, these are working man wrestlers, blue collar. They don't need nothing fancy. It was like, kind of makes you wonder. Again, like it was like an interesting lack of pageantry for the main event of night one of Mania.
So again, I advocated this should main event, and I think I stick with it because the story was just so rich.
Yeah,
but I do feel, and good on the women, I do feel Charlotte and Rhea did that match, and they walked through that curtain and said, all right, boy. Maybe they were told. And again, I don't know this. Nobody clipped this out and try to say that I'm false reporting something. Maybe Rhea and Charlotte at one point were under the impression again that they would be main eventing their night. And so then to get told, whenever they would get told, hey, you're not, we're bumping you, you're going to be semi-main. It's a chip on the shoulder.
It is.
Oh, you're gonna bump us? Oh, we'll show you. And then you walk through the curtain and you look at the Usos, Kevin and Sami, and go, follow that, fellas. Yeah. And I do think the crowd, I think the crowd, now at this point we're approaching 4 hours. The crowds, they're a little tired. I do think as the start, the crowd was, because even Sammy's music hitting, the pop was not as big for Sammy's music hitting, at least on TV, as I thought it would be. But as things went on, the crowd certainly was there as we went down the home stretch.
Absolutely.
I mean, if you look at TV time, the amount of time they've given Sammy, KO, and the Bloodline, and I'm not even talking about just importance or quality of story. I'm just saying the time they've given them being the opening segment or the go home segment on a Raw or SmackDown. If you look at that versus the time they spent, and they should have spent more time building Rhea and Charlotte. They did not do a great job of building Rhea and Charlotte. This had to be the main event just based on interest and people having a clear narrative of what was going on. And to that point, Charlotte and Rhea, to their credit, defied the sort of nothing burger of story that WWE creative gave them.
Well, and Charlotte and Rhea, it's very vanilla in the sense of it's the winner of the Rumble going after the world champ. And oh, by the way, it's like a first time ever.
No.
These two have fought at Mania. The difference being Rhea had not found herself like she has now. But I kind of get it. There's just not as much story to tell.
Yeah.
It's just kind of, you won the Rumble, you're picking that. Now we got to just sit with that for the next 2 months. Whereas Sammy and KO, as Michael Cole noted, I think it was like April 22nd of last year, Sammy first approached to be part of the Bloodline. So this is a year of so many layers of rich story. So again, I still understand and I still agree with it. Why you put the tag match as the main event, but the women went out there and they just said, okay, go ahead.
And Rhea's just made after tonight. If he wasn't already before, like now, I think Bianca successfully graduated to that upper echelon of female champions in WWE in the female roster. I think Rhea is definitely there as well.
I feel bad for Bianca and Asuka tomorrow night.
Oh yeah.
Hey, who knows? Who knows what we're in for? That could be just as stiff as tonight was.
Surprise me, please. But I feel bad for what they might be feeling right now, pressure wise.
Yeah. Yes, I apologize for massacring Rhea or Rhea. Here's the thing. I have to point this out. I am terrible with pronunciation of names because I read them and my entire life. How do you pronounce my last name? Rubenstein or Rubenstein? Guess what? Never had a preference because people have been saying it both ways my entire life. So I'm just as bad with everybody else's name.
You're Rubenstein.
Well, in theory, but I could spend a lot of time growing up in the Midwest where, it's not the most popular Jewish culture. So I got Rubenstein for a good portion of my life as well. Yeah, it's kind of weird.
You're S-T-E-I-N is Stein.
You know what's what? My dad's a rabbi. He doesn't even have a preference. It's very strange. Very strange. But no, let's talk about KO and Sammy tonight meeting the Usos in the ring, and these guys getting into it. This was a spot fest. This was, again, Kevin Steen and El Generico took on homegrown WWE talent tonight in the main event. First time the tag titles main eventing. This was phenomenal. Not the first tag team match to main event because of course WrestleMania 1.
Right.
The first time with the
tag team title match. Yeah.
But Jimmy, give me your high level thoughts on this match.
I thoroughly enjoyed this match, and I will say this because you referred to it as a spot fest. There were a lot of great spots in this match, but what they did was they let every single one of them breathe. They gave it time to digest. They let the crowd get invested in what they were doing. It wasn't boom, boom, one on top of the other after this. And, things like Sammy kicking out of the 1D and them emphasizing him being the first person ever to kick, because he was the first person to kick out of the 1D. It meant something. It was huge. And again, there were finishes going on, or false finishes in this one, that had the crowd popping huge, going, oh, I thought that was it. And that's the beauty of this business. When you're in the ring and you get that reaction and you're feeling it, it just, oh my goodness. And it feels, even from a referee standpoint, because they, I'm not going to say it, referees who kind of give away false finishes.
What's the tell? What's the tell on that?
I won't tell you because it'll ruin it for you.
No, because I'll give it to you this way. The producer that used to do the show up here that we did in Canada, Aftermath, I was sitting with him watching SummerSlam in 2019 when it was here in Toronto, and there was something, and he was going, "Oh, I thought that was it," and I kept saying, "No, no," and he kept saying, "Why?" And I said, "Because I saw a tell." Yeah. And he said, "What's the tell?" I said, "I don't want to tell you." He says, "Oh, come on." So I told him, and now he says, "I can't unsee it."
Wow.
And I said, "Well, because of that, that's why I never."
Hey, I'm that way with tag matches. If their palm is facing upward, it's going to be a real tag. If their palm's facing down, their partner's not making it to them. Yeah. So, Justin, aside from the false finishes, Jimmy, I mean, what else really stood out to you about this match?
It's just a great passion you saw in both teams, and the great storytelling and the culmination of is this the end? And I like the fact that now it leaves question marks with the Bloodline.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? As much as we were celebrating the KO and Sammy victory at the end of a really great tag team match, it also makes you want to tune in tomorrow to see what happens with the rest of the Bloodline, with the head of the table, you know, which obviously will main event tomorrow night.
Yeah, Justin.
I'll endorse everything Jimmy just said. I'll add. So the ending is 3 haluva kicks.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Sammy to Jay. That's key to the story. And props to Sammy. And full transparency here. 8 years ago, maybe it's something about that. You know, he was Sammy's. He was just generic. Looked like a paper route boy with his hat and whatever he did, whatever. I think I retweeted or endorsed something that Vince Russo tweeted, and next thing I knew, Sammy blocked me on Twitter. So Sammy's not a friend of mine. So I'm not saying this to get Sammy to pay for my next dinner or something like that. There ain't nothing like that going on. Sammy's not hearing anything I say unless somebody gets him done blocking for me. Sami Zayn was tremendous tonight. 3 haluva kicks, and this is where, you know, again, he's got him and Kevin, of course, the history, and they are indie darlings. We talked about earlier kind of the dynamics here, and they got PWG on their the trunks, paying homage to where they came from. Again, indie gets the connotation of just work rate and small crowd and breaking through whatever. He did one of the most WWE things you can do, and all that means is you're playing to the millions at home.
Yeah,
he did those haluva kicks, and he did the first one, he did the second one. Before he did the third one, if you go back and watch it, please go back and watch it. And the director was actually late on taking the camera shot up close of him.
Yeah,
of how well they were still wide, and he was doing it. He sold in his facial expressions of, I'm getting ready to deliver the shot to the back of the head. And I'm going to, all of this angst for the last year, I'm getting ready to just relieve it all. He told 12 months of a story of validation in just about 5 seconds of time in his face. And it was tremendous. And so again, he won't see this. I can tweet it. He won't see it unless he changes. I want to give out the props that Sami Zayn, he did it, and nothing can ever take that away. Nothing can ever change and take away that in his career, he main evented a night of WrestleMania and was the final pinfall victory at WrestleMania with 80,000 people all invested. Mm-hmm. And so, props to him.
He has an amazing ability. Brody Lee had this as well. We're just to communicate with his eyes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And Sammy did so much of that tonight. And I think they might be leaning on this too much, certainly in the Elimination Chamber match, and certainly or the match at Elimination Chamber, certainly in all the beatdowns he's received. He's very good at doing that punch drunk, like I'm down, I'm out, just, you know, a feather will knock me over and I won't get back up. There was that spot tonight, but when he hit that comeback, I mean, the crowd just lost their shit. Mm-hmm. It was a great moment. All the finishers tonight that went into this, the haluva kicks, as you said, the one in the back of the head that finished this. I think the video package they did, and I've been critical of the fact that I think the Sammy and Bloodline story has been told A+. Kevin Owens' involvement, it got there, but that was not the most obvious. And I know there was a pivot, and I know there's reasons with Cody and Roman and the plans they have there. But I feel like tonight, man, I mean, they told that story, the culmination of that in the ring. They told the story of the brotherhood between Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. I mean, this was just a beautiful moment to end on tonight. And I'm almost bummed that it's the appetizer for tomorrow night's main course of Cody dethroning Roman.
Well, and comment to that, and then I want to ask Jimmy something.
Yeah.
To that, Glenn, who knows? What happened tonight could spill over to tomorrow night.
Yeah.
What if the Usos make themselves present in Roman and Cody's match? And then what if KO and Sammy come out to try to even it out? So who knows? This might not be done. But to the point of how well Sammy did and everything, Jimmy, I got to say, we saw some false finishes tonight. Sammy's timing in terms of letting it get down to 2 and 99/100ths.
Oh, my goodness.
His shoulder came up off the mat damn near as late as it could be before forcing the ref to hit his hand on the mat.
Right. Then it's okay for the referee to hit that, try to hold up, but hit that 3 on that very last, like you said, 2 and 99/100ths of a second afterwards and wave it off. You know what I mean? His timing was impeccable. And the way he sold the kick out too, it wasn't like everyone was like a big arm swinging out. It was getting a shoulder up. Little things, everything just clicked, everything worked, everything made sense. And yes, hats off to the goodbye. I think it was the referee. Oh, I'm trying to think. Did a wonderful job. It's
it was good. If I have one note, I just feel like they did this with Theory. They did this on NXT. I'm a little tired of the losing opponent gets the pin at one point, but the ref's out or the ref doesn't see it or whatever. But I thought the main event was just very well orchestrated tonight by all involved. I agree some of the camera cuts might have been a little late or the angles might have been imperfect, but that audience just ate this up tonight and it trickled down at home. I mean, the audience reaction really counts for a lot. Grant Yenny with a $5 super chat saying El Generico was said on commentary. El Generico was said on commentary tonight. There was no chance that Vince was on the headset.
It was Rod Zapata.
I was gonna say it was right.
But yeah, love the call outs to Reseda even tonight. This felt like, I mean, we've had NXT talent, indie talent. I mean, Finn Balor was first Universal Champion, but I don't know. This felt like WWE, like I said at the opening, WWE has finally figured out the way to balance the indie revolution with WWE storytelling and style.
Let me say this. You get your world title match, Roman 940 something days, and Cody. You got a Brock Lesnar match. You got Edge and the Hell in a Cell. And many more. I'm doing
the women's fatal 4-way.
They all have the pressure is all on them right now because night one it was good. Came in guns a-blazing.
Yeah.
Joseph Grimaldi 499 saying, so happy for Sammy and KO. I've been watching them since 2008 in Reseda. Only in this era can they have PWG logos on their gear while wrestling for WWE.
Another sign that Vince is not there with the
or just doesn't know what PWG stands for.
It's like that's some sort of Canadian thing.
Yeah, it's a Canadian thing.
Yeah, it's a Canadian ICO Pro.
Yeah.
So Andrew Ung 499. I just watched the TV version of the Sammy entrance and the arena reaction was 50 times louder. Again, I hope WWE fixed their production issue.
Oh, maybe it was an audio issue. Who knows? But if that's the case, then great.
The conspiracy against Sami Zayn lives on in some way, shape, or form.
Yes. We don't want the people to think that he's getting that big a pop.
T Smitty 3000 with a $5 super chat asking, did I cry after the main event? I was a little misty eyed. I mean, soaking in the moment again. And, I tweeted it not to give Raw shit, but yeah, I mean, I remember saying like, oh, one day Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens would be great to main event WrestleMania. Of course, I thought against each other. And he was adamant, like Kevin Owens, sure, but no way will Sami Zayn ever do this. So,
but I probably would have said the same thing, Glenn. We've been so caught up in the last year how Sami and this whole Bloodline thing has developed. Let's not. I mean, even last year's Mania, he's in a jackass match, whatever. But years prior to that, Sami was so just. He was just so there.
Well, that's how he's booked. But I mean,
he was El Generico. I mean, it is a hard thing to imagine 5 years ago to say this guy is going to be in the most important. Like, I mean, again, all credit to him and all that involved. But it's not crazy that Raj said that. I mean, I probably would have said the same thing.
I feel like Sami and Becky are two talents that I was early on in feeling that these could be the top stars in the company. But you know what it all comes down to? If they're booked correctly. And it's not about what we think. It's about, at the time, about what Vince or Kevin Dunn or Michael Hayes thinks. And I think that sometimes it's easy to get so used to what the tastes are of the powers that be that you're almost dismissive of anything that you think might shake that. But no, I mean, it's all meant in good fun.
And also, when you think of a guy like Sami Zayn, and his entire career prior to being Sami Zayn is under a mask, and you always hear you're under a mask, and the number one thing in WWE is I did a whole thing on Charlotte worked this great match with Rhea. She lost, but I took all this away from Charlotte's facial expressions, and it brought me to the conclusion of maybe this is her last match, or she's going to go into semi-retirement, all because of how she was selling the loss and how it wasn't a traditional facial expression that I would think for a loss. So when you work a career under a mask, like he did as El Generico, it's easy to believe that this guy's gonna have a hard time ever being the main event of WrestleMania and getting people to believe in false finishes.
Well, to that point, T. Smitty also says that Sami is today's Mick Foley, and I think the comparisons kind of connect some dots, some lines.
He would be Sami would be Mick is a unicorn of his own, but Sami would be the closest thing in terms of like an organic, story of as Mick was Cactus Jack and Do Love and Mankind Under a Mask. He would be the closest thing. It really would be the because like Sami Zayn joined this group that he never belonged, and Mick tried to be somewhere where he didn't belong, and then
No, it's interesting, and I think the story's not over. So we're gonna see more of what Sami does, both in his partnership with Kevin. I'm sure he and Kevin will fracture again, and go on to have many more great matches together and apart. But T. Smitty also says the son of the greatest babyface to ever lace him up will beat Roman tomorrow. I kind of want to be surprised, maybe not get that finish that we're expecting tomorrow night.
No, a swerve just for the sake of a swerve because you see the finish coming. Is not
maybe
good.
Maybe we'll get there in a interesting or unique way that's unpredictable.
Yeah.
Glenn, if they don't do it tomorrow night,
I know.
I compare it to a couple years ago, like 5 years ago maybe, when we were really in a rut.
Yeah.
I love Brock. I do love Brock, and I appreciate that he is a generational talent. But they got kind of in a rut with Brock as champion. And then Braun had lightning in a bottle, and they could have pulled the trigger on Braun Strowman, and who knows? They didn't. It's kind of the same thing now, but maybe even bigger stakes. They have lightning in a bottle with Cody. If you don't do it tomorrow, or I guess today, technically for us on the East Coast, if you don't do it later today, you might never get that back again.
Right.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Well, Andrew Rung with one more super chat saying that when should they do Flair versus Rhea 3 at another Mania? Because they're both now 1-1 in Mania.
You can do it. You can do it at a SummerSlam.
Yeah.
If you can get that story going that long, yes.
Yeah. It'd be interesting. Before we take this home, any final thoughts? Jimmy, to you first. Any final thoughts on WrestleMania Night 1?
WrestleMania Night 1, I hate to put it this way, delivered big time. And I really thoroughly enjoyed everything. I even enjoyed the Pat McAfee Miz thing because it was that nice welcome. Let's just sit back and relax before we get like super invested in this main event. So everything worked tonight. I thought everything clicked. Everybody should be very proud of their performance tonight. And everybody who's on tomorrow night, I hope
Good luck.
I hope you were watching.
Justin?
Yeah, same. I again, we have a whole other night, so I'm not going to even begin to try to categorize where Mania 39 fits in the 39-year history. I'll do that tomorrow night. So tease, tune in tomorrow night. But for what tonight was, I mean, start to finish, the delivery of the in-ring work, I mean, was really, really strong. So, and Glenn, I think you kind of really said it the best way, which is they delivered in such a strong way. But you're right, there was a blend of styles. So I often end up using this when Jimmy and I are on Wednesday nights with AEW, and I try to say, look, wrestling is a buffet. You don't want, it's all you can eat. All right, you don't want any seafood, come over here to this, or it's like you give a little bit for everybody and whatever. And sometimes AEW gets maybe in too caught in one genre, but like tonight it literally felt like you had a little bit of something for everybody. You had you had celebrities, you had millionaires sitting ringside, you had it all there, but you also gave some really just pure wrestling and with some great stories. So night again, I hope the guys and girls for night 2 get a good night's rest tonight, and they are ready, because the pressure is on them. And Jimmy and I will be back tomorrow night to do the same thing.
Yeah, so you'll be joined by Raj Giri.
What a threesome that's going to be.
I know, it's going to be great. You see, I'd say normally it is the buffet, but the problem is that they try and get you to load up so much on potatoes and bread because they're cheaper. They're like, please stay away from, we only have so much prime rib and lobster tail, people.
Well, we got a lot of main course tonight.
Yeah,
as long as you go to the buffet with a Ziploc bag or to-go container, that's so you want to make the people take some home, take some more home.
And Vince is like, put up signs that say, "Take what you want, but eat what you take."
Yes.
Yeah.
I used to be a Chinese buffet we go to when I was a kid. There's little mini cheesecakes. I used to love those.
Lovely.
I miss have to say that now.
It was in St. Mary's County, Maryland. I lived in Calvert County. We went across the bridge to St. Mary's County. We had the little tiny cheesecakes. I used to love them.
There's still some Pizza Huts with the Pizza Hut buffet. And as a child, that used to be the...
Glenn, you'd appreciate this fun fact.
Yeah.
In the county I grew up in Maryland, in Calvert County, there was no Pizza Huts because there was a long-standing, it was like, into like the 1800s, long-standing ordinance could have no buildings with a red roof.
Wow. Crazy.
I never had Pizza Hut until I was like 19 years old, until I moved to Pittsburgh.
I mean, probably by that point you had refined taste.
And a certain hotel chain wasn't there either. So.
They were not there either.
Oh, yeah. Well, there you have it, folks. Do us a favor. If you like this podcast, like, share, subscribe, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you consume your media. And Justin LaBar is on the Twitters at Justin LaBar. Jimmy's at Jimmy Korderas. I'm at Glenn Rubenstein. Please follow us all. Please ask Sami Zayn to unblock Justin. And ask HBK to unblock me as well. I didn't even tweet him. I was just tagged in something somebody posted. It's a misunderstanding. I want to give him my notes on NXT desperately. And go back and watch Stand and Deliver today. Carmelo Hayes wrestled the hell out of that main event and is going to be an awesome, awesome champ. Really, really excited for where that's all headed. So happy WrestleMania night 1. The crew will be back tomorrow night for night 2. I'll be back on Tuesday for NXT and the fallout from Stand and Deliver. Until then, everybody, try and get some rest. It's a long weekend. Make sure you're drinking enough fluids. Hydrate. We'll see you back here on the Wrestling Gang podcast.